So welcome to the second meeting for WebDev. It starts at 12:35, but as every club, people come in late, so we start around like 12:38. All right, so today, can you guys see the screen properly? Singing, can you see it?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. So today we'll be covering how websites are displayed on people's screens, what HTML is, and we'll do a basic walkthrough on REPL.it, where you made an account last week. Right, so to begin, as you may know, when you visit a website, you use a browser, right? For example, Chrome and Firefox are really popular browsers. And inside the browser, there is the page you're looking at, and we call that the window. So for example, if you're on google.com, right, the window includes everything from the URL of the website to what you see on the screen. Okay, and inside this window is something called a document, which is the part of the page that everyone sees. So when a user visits your site, the user sees the document, but then everything behind the document, the users do not see. And inside this document is where you can put things so that the user can see what content you want to display. For example, okay, so the coding language used to determine what goes on the page is called HTML. And basically, you write code in a .html file, and that file gets displayed in your browser. Basics of HTML. On the right is a super simple HTML block, and on the left is what it looks like when it's rendered in the browser. So this H1 tag, H1 stands for header 1, so it's like a big bold text in your screen. And whatever content goes inside these two red brackets gets displayed in the header style. So these two red boxes are called tags, and tags are usually declared using a bracket, tag, close bracket, and then in between those brackets, you type your text, and then you close it off with a slash. And this entire green block over here is referred to as an element. So inside, this is how the document looks in the code. When you have an H1 element, it gets placed inside the document. And inside this H1 element is the hello world text. And you can actually stack as many as you want. So if you have two H1 elements on top of each other, they'll get displayed right on top of each other in the document as well. So inside the first H1 block is the text hello world. Inside the second one is the text 2020 sucks, right? And so they get displayed right on top of each other in the browser. So this is what the user sees on the left. Here's another example where you can nest or put blocks inside of each other. So inside this H1 block is a strong block. And strong means bold. It's like strong text, right? So the text WebDev is inside the strong block. So it gets made into a bold text. And then the bold text is made into a header text. So as you can see here, inside the document, there's a header, and then inside the header, there is a bold block, and then inside that bold block is the text WebDev. So what the user sees is a bold header that says WebDev. Right, so to quickly recap, users see the document that is displayed on the page. And HTML is what specifies what goes in that document. And the syntax is bracket, tag, close bracket, and then anything inside that tag, and then you type bracket slash tag bracket. And you can actually place as many as you want on top of each other, and you can place elements inside other elements as well. So this whole thing is called the DOM, or document object model, because you can place elements or objects inside of other elements. Here are a few examples of pretty common HTML tags. The first one is H1, H2, and H3, which stand for header 1, header 2, and header 3. So as the name suggests, header 1 is bigger than header 2, header 2 is bigger than header 3. Okay, and then a P stands for paragraph, and it's used for putting text inside your HTML. So for example, if you have a description of yourself you want to put on your website, right? You put that text inside a P block and put it in your HTML file. BR stands for break line, and it actually creates an empty line that has nothing on it. So in HTML, spaces between or new random lines between blocks don't actually show up on the page, and you have to tell HTML that you actually want an empty line using this BR block over here. Another popular one is a button, which is declared by writing bracket button and then the text you want to show inside the button and then closing off the button. A div is also a very commonly used element in HTML, and it's used for dividing things into sections. So for example, if you have an essay you wanted to post on your website, right? You might put each paragraph into its own paragraph block, and then if you have multiple essays, you might put each essay into its own div block. And span is also very similar to a div, except it's not a block, it's an inline element. We'll explain that when we explain CSS properties. Right, now off to Sangmin with the demo and follow along with REPL.it.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just be demoing REPL.it, nothing really that fancy. So to make a REPL.it, okay, so basically you just go to the website, and there we go. And you go, after you log in, which, if you're here, I'll just show it real quick, I'll log out. Then you go to log in, we did this, and then go to what your, if you used, everyone else had a login. If you used an account, just use the account, and then I'll just log in real quick. Then you go to the top right, there's a big blue button that has a plus mark on it. You click that. And then for WebDev first semester, we'll basically be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Maybe for second semester, we'll probably be diving into server, so we'll be using Node.js or Python or whatever we decide to use. And basically, we'll just name the REPL, I don't know, let's call it WebDev demo real quick. And then we just press create REPL. And when we create a REPL, it's called an IDE. It's basically just a glorified text editor. That's all it is. And we can type stuff in. Like, this looks really fancy. Head, there's some metadata. We can put the title. So if we just real quick open in a new tab, you can tell that the title is REPL.it whenever it decides to load, which is, I'll just leave that on the other page loading. And we can just type in other stuff let's just make a list real quick. The list.
So UL stands for unordered list, and LI stands for list item. So inside the UL block, you can place LI items, so you can make items in a list, and they'll come out as bullet points.
And then, HTML pops up. So that's why the reason why we're using REPL, it's fast, it's quick, there's no software install, nothing complicated. And yeah, that's HTML and REPL. As you can see, you can put tags and tags, following the document object model, and it's cool.
Yeah, so Sangmin, I'm going to try to, wait, can you share your screen again? I'm going to take control of your REPL.
Oh my.
And demo a few HTML things.
Sure.
Let me request remote. Bam.
Approved. Parsing.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's do a few simple things. You can ignore all this really crazy stuff. It's very, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so for the things I want to demo are the H1 block, like I said, which is a header. When you type H1, you can type the text inside. So, hello, this is a header. And, oh, Whoops. And then you close it off with a bracket /h1 and like that. When you click run, it shows up like this. Right, so let's see, paragraph is where you put your text. So if I were to type lorem ipsum, I don't know the rest of the passage. I don't know the rest of the passage. Why does it do that? REPL is weird. You can close it off and it'll look like exactly what you want. Okay, so the other elements are like button. So button text here. And boom. So the thing about HTML is, for example, in this P paragraph over here, let's say you wanted to have a new line after this one, right? Well, you would put a new line and then type new line here. But, oh no, it's on the same line. What do you do? So that's where the break line block comes in, where you type BR and then /BR. But typing BR and then /BR over and over could get a little tiring, so there's a shorthand for it. It's BR space / and then close off the bracket. And that'll put that text on a new line, right? And you can actually have a lot of these break lines if you want to have multiple empty lines. Yeah, just BR works too, but I like BR /. So yeah, if you want to have multiple empty lines, you can use this repeatedly.
If you're interested, those like having like the / inside the opening tag is just called a self-closing tag. So
yeah, that's because it closes itself.
Yeah, that's the
exactly
term to put in Google if you're curious.
And so you can actually do that with any element, I'm pretty sure. So if you want to have a button with no text in it for some reason, you can do that by doing button and then self-closing. So that's like an empty button with nothing in it. All right. Well, you might be wondering what can I do after pressing this button, right? Like, you obviously want a button to do something. So that's where JavaScript comes in, and we'll introduce that in future lectures. So we'll skip over button actions for now. Okay. Are there any other interesting elements that you want to talk about, Singman or Rishi?
I mean, we can also just talk about like autocomplete. If you press tab.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good feature in REPL.
That's why. Yeah.
When you type something, when you start typing a tag name, it'll autocomplete it for you. So if you want to create a button, right, you type BU and then just press tab.
If you wanted to, yeah.
Yeah. Another one Singman briefly introduced in his demo was lists. So if you want to have an unordered list, you can have UL and then \UL. And then inside you can have list item or li/li. And then inside here you put the name of the item. And then I'll make a bullet point list. So bullet 1, like that. You can also have tables. So if you have a table, /table, and then what are the elements for rows again? I forgot the name.
I think it's TR.
Oh yeah, TR. Yeah, table row stands for table row. So you can type table row /tr this, and then table TC, was it?
Maybe.
TD.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't remember the tags. When you can't remember the tags, you can just look them up on Google, and there'll always be a Stack Overflow answer waiting for you. So here I can say item 1 in table, and then copy paste. Oh, I guess copy paste doesn't work on Zoom, but
You want me to copy paste for you?
that's fine. So what this will do is inside this table right here, there is a row, and inside this row, there are two data elements, right? So this item has the text item 1 in the table, and then the second one has item 2 in the table. So when you run this code, it'll create a table with the two items side by side. And say you wanted to make a new row, right? Then you would just add another row inside of it, /tr, and then td row to item 1. When you run this, it'll put it on the next line as a table.
You can also use, instead of tr, you can use th for like table headers. That would be useful for, I guess, if you have a title of each column.
Yeah, so table header is like the first line of the table. So if you have like a data table where you have, for example, a name and their test score or something, you would put that in the header. So name, let's see. Oh, copy pasting works. Test score. You would run that. Oh, what happened? Oh, wait. I think I know what's wrong. Yeah, like that. So you would have a tr/tr. So inside this first row, you would have a table header and th test score, for example. It can now look like a proper table. And you might want like a border line between all the elements as like a normal table would have, right? And you can control that using CSS, which we will introduce in future lectures as well. So if you want to make your things look good, right, then you would use styles, which, yeah, we'll introduce in future lectures. Are there any other elements that we should introduce?
Just as a side note, if you don't want to type in like this type in a tab. That's it.
Ronak says, how do I center the table? Oh boy. So centering is a notoriously hard task in HTML, but we'll guide you through that in our styling lectures. Does anyone have any questions about these elements?
Why don't we do like, we can do like links and all.
Oh yeah, right, I forgot links. So you can have links in your HTML by typing A, it's pretty simple, and then href equals. And so href stands for hyperlink reference, and in these quotes, you put the link URL. So https://www.google.com, for example, right? And inside this A block, you can put the link text. So click here to go to Google, for example, right? You click here, and let's try opening this in a new tab. When you click this link, it'll take you to Google. These things like this, like href equals, these are called attributes, and you can apply them to a lot of elements. For example, if you have an input element where you can input text/input, if you don't have any attributes, it'll just show an empty text box like this, right? But if you put an attribute called value equals, and then in the quotes, initial value, and click run, it'll actually put that value when you load the page. So yeah, attributes are useful for specifying how the element looks initially and what properties it has. So things you can do with pure HTML, for example, if you have a div block and you want it by 500 by 500, you can specify height equals 50, width equals 50. Oh, but there's no background color, so it's BG color equals.
So this is kind of getting into the territory of CSS, aka anything that makes anything look pretty. And that's just the way that the browser can tell. Oh, did my webcam die? Well, anyway, that's an interesting image. Anyway, that's just how the browser knows how to picture things.
So say you want to have a div element with a style of 50 pixels high, 50 pixels wide, and the background color is red, right? When you click run, it'll show that box. And so this right over here is called a style. And we'll get into that later in future lectures when we explain CSS. And inside this div, you can put other divs. So for example, if you wanted to put a smaller, if you wanted to put a text inside your div, you would put p, and then hello, this is my paragraph. When you do that, it shows inside the box. Yeah, actually, you should actually probably make it bigger. Boom. Right. Anything else? Oh, right. We should show code blocks. Code blocks are.
Yeah, sure.
Code. So if you want to show, like, I don't know, your Java code or something inside your web page just to showcase it, right? You can actually type code, and then inside here you can type whatever you want. So let's see. Alert. Hello world. And it will show up and look like code in this special font. And you can, there's also a pre block, pre/pre, and pre stands for pre-formatted. So if you, everything inside here will show up literally exactly how it is inside the block. So usually if you have blank lines within a div element, for example, if you have div /div /div, then inside here, if you were to have line 1, then a bunch of blank lines, and then line 2, it would just show it as one thing on the same line. But if you have a pre-formatted block, right, line 1, then line 2, it'll show up separately. So that's a pretty cool block. Right, I think that's it for me, but if anyone else has cool tags you know and you want to introduce?
Just like a quick thing to note is, like if you put in a paragraph tag, if you put try to put tab spaces, it's not going to work. You got to use the HTML code for that. I don't know what it is, but you can search it up. I don't know, if you try putting 5 or 10 spaces inside of your paragraph, you'll see that it only shows up as one space.
Yeah, I'll actually demo that right here. So if you want to have a text and then if you have word 1, and then you want to have a ton of spaces in between and word 2, right? When you click run, it actually won't show up like that. It will actually become one space. So the way to do it is, let me look it up. What was the space character code?
Oh my.
And NBSP semicolon, right? I think. Let's go with it. And NB. Oh, REPL shows it. That's epic. So you just take that, and this means space. So if you just copy and paste this a lot of times, it'll put a bunch of spaces in between your two words. And there are codes for characters like tab as well, which can't be put directly in HTML. So if you want to indent your paragraph, for example, you would put whatever the code for tab is. You can look that up when you need it.
Okay, well, I think they could just look up the rest. We showed a lot of the nuances, and yeah, if you want to learn more, there's plenty of resources on the web. And
yeah, I think the best one is like W3 Schools, because they have an interactive editor just like REPL, and they also have a lot of tutorials. So if you want to check out more cool tags and try out your code, you can go to w3schools.org. I'll put that in the. Oh, Natalie just said W3 Schools. Didn't see that. w3schools.com. Right. Anyone have any questions? If not, that'll be it for today. So let me share the sign-in form and link. Share screen. All right, so the sign-in link is tinyurl.com/webdevsignin. Someone put that in the chat, and the code is HTML5. So see you guys next week.